No, I see self-care here in a blowout. I think that is a much bigger trend, hotter trend than interoperability, greater interoperability. You know, we all barely stayed awake, I think, during their first game. You know, I just don't see them kind of getting that spark to come out of this round.
There's a lot of regulation coming along around interoperability, so I think we are likely to see at least some more passion around this issue.
Self-care red, interoperability black, red black, red black. I'm gonna settle it pretty quickly. This is self-care for me. I just think it's too big of a thing this year in 24. So I like the Cinderella making of self-care at least for one more round.
I mean, you heard me in the first round question the real impact of price transparency in 2024. I think there's still a lot to go there. You know, consumers in terms of making transparent the whole picture and telling that the whole story around total cost of care, around outcomes, around quality, and not just unit price. So I'm not sure how big of an impact, a real impact, it's going to have this year. So for me, it's personalization of medicine. Plus, see this next round matchup.
Oh, I think it's definitely the impact of price transparency. That data is being used still frequently now. There was a couple of years where we had to wait until the machine-readable files actually came up and they were able to be readable, and now you have a number of platforms that are taking those down, reading them, and say the employer market, the purchasers of most of commercial insurance in the U.S. Are looking at those things, saying, why am I paying X for this when I could be paying Y for this?
I also am seeing a lot of interest by employers in being able to understand how this data affects them. So it's employers, and then I think consumers, I don't think they're that interested yet, but they will be. And these entrepreneurs that are out there developing tools that they can access will change that game too.
Price transparency red, succeed, black, personalization medicine. Red, 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 black. Okay.
I just think price transparency has driven so much interest and engagement and usage by employers for sure. Not so much in consumers yet, but I know consumers are very interested in that data, and I hope that it doesn't stop there. I obviously don't think that price transparency is adequate. It's not even enough to make any decision in healthcare, but it is the conversation starter. The question, it raises the right questions, I think. So I just think its moment has arrived.
The self-care here being the rise of technologies like generative AI to become essentially the first point of contact and self-direction for care for consumers or of care. So the question for me is, do we believe this team this year is going to surpass other traditional steerage or triage mechanisms and start to really redirect care in a way that's impactful? I think that's what self-care is. We've been talking about like a broader version of self-care, but really that's the definition here, and that's what this team brings to the table. It is very apparent to me that the computing power available to generative AI and its ability to interact with a human and to take in information and make more accurate diagnosis than the best physician is here. That is available to us today. I do not think it's going to take many use cases and public stories to drive a massive wave of folks to start to accept that as at least a starting point for a conversation with their clinical team. And so for me, I just think this year, 11 months in this space is forever, and I think this is a year where we start to see real stories that start to question like that, how these technologies influence healthcare in the future.
That's persuasive.
Is it? That's all it took?
Yeah, well,
just a compelling argument by a physician.
She's willing to listen. She's enlightened.
Let's see if we've got enough to change. Self-care red, price transparency black. Red, black, red. Okay, at the buzzer.